Hello, hello, beautiful. Welcome to the Thursday Talks and day one of the Emergency Medical Folder Challenge. I am so happy to have you here with us this week. We are talking all things emergency medical folder today and some of the psychological aspects of being prepared with something like an emergency medical folder. So, if you're not already part of the challenge, then please make sure to register. You can go to SuzannaKaye.com and register there. There's a banner at the top of the website that says to register for the challenge, and that will be available until this Sunday, January, what's that, 9th, 10th, 2026. I don't know what day today is practically. So register, it is free, and you can follow along. But like I said, today we are talking about the emergency medical folder. This is day one, and we're talking about how to prepare for doctor's appointments and regular medical situations and medical care, as well as those emergency medical situations. So that way you have everything that you need for yourself and your loved ones in any sort of a medical situation. Well, as you hop on, let me know who you are and where you're joining me from. I want to say hi really quickly to those of you who've already said hello. We have Susan's here. Hello, Susan from the Pacific Northwest. Joyce is here from Southwest Virginia. Welcome. Sarah's here from Maryland. We've got Deb from Tampa, Florida. I'm a Florida gal myself. I'm here in Orlando, and I went to school in Tampa. So hi, Deb. Glad to have you here. Lisa's here from Tampa as well. Tampa in the house. I love it. Melody is here from Fairfax, and Nancy's here from Colorado. Glad to have you all here with us today. Keep telling me as you hop on who you are and where you're joining me from so I can see who's with me today. But this is an exciting day. Day one is always exciting because that's when I get to introduce the emergency medical folder and talk about it. If you have registered for the challenge already, then you have your free download. So the download that you would have is all of these fill in the blank PDF templates to build your own emergency medical folder. So there's nothing that you have to buy. You have all the templates that you need. You could type into them as a PDF or print them out and handwrite on them. And you probably have most of the supplies to build your folder already in your home. So there's nothing stopping you. So make sure, register if you've not already. But let's talk about what is the emergency medical folder and how is it used. So the emergency medical folder is actually one small part of the full Spark Life binder, which is a binder that holds all of the important information for your life, from passwords and financial information to dependent information and insurances and so much more. But I like to start not only just the Spark Life binder, but your entire paper system with the emergency medical folder. This is one of the foundational parts of your paper system because keeping you and your loved ones safe relieves so much of the mental anxiety that comes along with papers. And most of the struggle with organizing papers is not even how to organize them, but the stress of what if something happens? What if I can't find an important piece of information? What if this situation comes up? So having your health already organized for yourself and those quick grab items settled, that allows you to have that solid foundation before you move on with the rest of your paper system. So emergency medical folder, essential for everyone, and it's the first step, one of the first two steps that I use for the entire paper systems that I set up for people. So that's how important this one is. So the emergency medical folder, what is included inside of it, and how would you even use it? So like I said, this is the one part, it's the first part that I work on with people of the Spark Life binder, which is for all of your important information. And it includes things such as doctor's appointments. It's great for doctor's appointments and medical emergencies because it has all of your essential medical alert information, It has life-threatening allergies, conditions, special needs listed right in the front, your emergency contact right in the front. So if you are not able to communicate, then the first responders have all of this information immediately as well. So that's front and center, so it does not get missed. But then inside of the rest of the folder, you have your insurance information, letter of instructions and healthcare surrogate forms and things like that, those different types of information, emergency contacts, information such as your blood type, if you're an organ donor, allergies and conditions that, may not be life-threatening, but they are important for them to know. We have vaccine information is included within here, and current medications and prescriptions. So that way you can easily communicate what your current medications and prescriptions are, including your supplements and things like that you're taking. So this is not only helpful just in an emergency, but this is really, really good to bring to the doctor's appointments with you. I don't know how many times I've had to list all of my current medications again for the nurse when I go into the doctor's appointment. So it's nice. I just hand her my emergency medical folder, turn it to the medications page, and she can check it herself. And then, aside from having all that information for each person in your household, I also do have some emergency pet information that's included within the emergency medical folder, and some emergency home information, such as some non-emergency numbers for important things like ambulance and police. We have where shutoff valves are located, where you can find emergency supplies and documents. So some of those really important things that in an emergency you or a loved one might need to access really quickly. So that's what's in the emergency medical folder. So you can see it's primarily focused on medical, but it has some of the basic emergency information as well, especially because if something were to happen to you and you have a pet, then people would know that you have a pet, so they can arrange care. There's the contact information for who can take care of the pet and information for that person. They've got emergency information for the home in case they need to do a shutoff valve or something. It's all in one place. So doctor's appointments and medical emergencies are the primary places where you are going to use the emergency medical folder. So an example of that I wanted to share really quickly. So this is just some feedback from somebody who has used the emergency medical folder. Heather said, in the ER with my dad and handed the emergency folder to the doctor, and he was like, wow, this is the most organized paperwork I've ever seen. Thank you, Suzanna. So that's the nice thing. And we'll talk about the why of how this works and a little bit about how you want to set it up today. But I wanted to cover what it's used for first. The other benefit of the emergency medical folder, hopefully you will never need to use it in this way, but if first responders do have to come into your home when you cannot communicate, then they have all the information that they need. Now, on day 3, during our group hike, which is that live productivity session, we will be talking about where to store your emergency medical folder so first responders and the people who might need to access it can find it easily in your home. So don't worry about where you're storing it quite yet. But when you can't communicate, or if you are a caregiver, spouse, family member for somebody who can't communicate and first responders have to come into the home, this is literally a lifesaver sometimes. So for example, Leslie said, the emergency file, which is the medical folder, is so important. I suffered a coma and a stroke 6 months ago, and my family had a tough time finding all my medical information. Now it's all organized in one place. So that is a huge relief, and that is so common, especially in an emergency when either you can't communicate or naturally we can't always pull up mentally some of the information that we know. It's just very hard in an emergency to remember all the things. Having a folder that you can just hand to somebody or that they know where to find is so helpful. So other ways that this can help: quick evacuations. with your home emergency reference information, pet information, and your medical information. If you have to evacuate, this is a great quick grab and go. So those are some of the situations that you will use the emergency medical folder, and that is how you would use it. You would bring it to doctor's appointments because you can just hand it to the nurse or whoever is checking you in. You can keep some of your notes about doctor's appointments in it. I will say if you do have complex or chronic conditions, then you might want to add some more information to your emergency medical folder. So we do have that complex and chronic add-on. Right now it's $7 instead of $15. I emailed you about it when you registered, but if you do have a more complex medical history or situation, then just grab those extra sheets, and that can really help communicate some of that more complex information as well. But hand this to the people in the doctor's appointments. If there's a medical emergency and you need to run to the hospital, grab this and go. First responders, if you have it in a place, we will talk about on day 3, but if you have it in an easy place for them to find, then they can find the information that they need without you having to try to remember everything. And it can also help if you have to evacuate, just grab this as you grab everything else and take that with you when you evacuate. So next up, I want to talk about why this system works, because if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I truly believe that the system, the structure, the tools, they're a small part of true organization. Truly getting organized and being productive and getting things done includes understanding the way you think and using the psychology behind it. So I focus a lot on how you can use something, how you can understand yourself better. So we want to talk about why this system works really quickly in a moment. But I did want to hop over to the comments. I asked you to tell me hi and who you are, where you're from in the comments. Also tell me, do you already have an emergency medical folder, or are you setting this up for the first time right now? I would love to hear about that in the comments, so let me know that. Want to say hi to Joanne. Joanne is here from Maryland. Hello. We have Patricia's here from South Carolina. Welcome. Lori is here from Ohio. Hi, Lori. And we have Earl Ann from Texas. Wonderful. Shelly is here from Ohio as well. You and Lori are right near each other. Well, near-ish each other. You're both in Ohio. And Rosella, hello. She says, happy blessed New Year, Susanna and everyone. Back at you. Good to see you. All right. Let's talk about why the emergency medical folder works. All right. So here's another story quote from somebody who's set up and used the emergency medical folder. Jane, she says, love the life binder idea, which is the full Spark life binder. She says, my mom passed away suddenly a couple years ago and finding documents was a nightmare. Not going through that again. So when we have one easy place for our information, not only is that easier for ourselves because our brain can calm down and know that it's handled in case of an emergency, the information is easy to access, but for whoever is going to be the caregiver or your loved ones, knowing that there's one place where they can find all the information they might need, that is essential. That is such a relief. I know for me, knowing that my parents have one place where if I need information because something were to happen, I know where to find information to take the best care of them possible. That is a relief to me. So even if it's not complete, even if it's not fully filled in, it is still a very useful tool, not only for yourself, but for your loved ones. And let's talk about that. So why the system works, one of the main ways this system with the emergency medical folder and the Spark Life Binder, one of the main ways that this works is it takes your brain out of the system. How many times have you gotten stuck because you wanted to put together your own type of life binder or everything folder, right? But then your brain has to think about, okay, well, what information do I need? How should I organize it? How should I keep track of it? Now your brain has so many stuck points that come along that project is now taking up so much brain space and so much energy that most of the time it fizzles, right? There's so many points where your brain might just shut down. If we can take our brain out of the system, so your brain does not have to make the decisions, does not have to figure out how to keep the information, where to keep the information, it does not need to think what type of information it needs. The more we can take your brain out of that, the more likely you are to be successful, because now it takes very little brain effort. The reason why is because it's all fillable fields. So you're just answering questions. You don't have to think beyond, okay, well, where do I have this information? Most of this information in the emergency medical folder is already in your head, quite frankly, or super easy to find because it's your most relevant current information. So you're not needing to think about what information you need. You don't need to think about how to organize it. You're just going through and filling in the blanks. So taking your brain out of the system makes it much easier and more likely that you will complete the system, right? Because you're just answering questions. So Susie said, I've tried to make my own everything binder in the past, but never got past the first few pages. This binder is, I'm sure, a literal lifesaver. So I don't know about you, but I know I can relate. This is why I put it together, actually, the way that I did, because back in the day, probably 10 to 15 years ago, probably closer to 15, my father ended up in the hospital. And he had a tracheotomy. He had a breathing tube in, so he could not speak, which was very scary for my mom and the rest of our family, right? Because my dad has always been the person who handles everything. He was the one who paid the bills and knew what the insurance policies were, and he was the manager of all the administrative side of he and my mom's life. And he was young, so we did not know most of his medical information. He managed that himself as well because this was unexpected. So with him being in the hospital and unable to speak, there were some things going on that needed to be taken care of with their house and finances. And my mom did not know anything about any of that information. And my dad was trying to communicate that information to me by kind of writing it down as best he could to try to communicate it. And that's when I realized how little I could really help in that situation. I had to do a lot of research, going through a lot of papers, finding a lot of information in order to help them with that situation, because I did not know any of the information and I did not know where to find it. So not only was my mom worried about my dad and his health, but my mom was also worried about this financial situation that she had no clue where to even start, because she did not have any of the information about it. So that added layers of worry for my mom and for the rest of us. So at that point, that's when I thought there has to be a better way. I cannot be the only person who's ever been in this situation. And if anything were to ever happen again to either of them, I want to be able to just step in and handle whatever they need. I don't need the information until I need the information. So they don't have to give me the whole Spark Life binder. I just need to know that they've got one place where I can find that information so I can make things easier for them. So that's when I first created the first version of the Spark Life binder, which was very basic compared to what it is today. It's been almost 15 years of refinement and making it better and better. But it is such a huge relief because that information is there if we need it. And now as I'm taking over some things for my parents as they're aging, that information's right there. It's all in one place. So myself and my sister can be on the same page. So that is why I created originally just the Spark Life binder. But the medical part was important for me to have as a separate quick grab folder, because I don't want to bring the entire Spark Life binder with all their financial information, their passwords. That should not leave the house. It should not be out where first responders can find it. That should be protected. But the very current medical information, I wanted to be able to grab it and take it with me to the hospital. I wanted to be able to take it to doctor's appointments with them. If first responders had to come and they could not communicate, I wanted that information to be very accessible. So that's why this is in a separate folder, and it's not just another section in the Spark Life binder, because this is meant to travel with you. This is meant to be a living and breathing, ever growing and changing document or set of documents. So that way it's easier for you to manage your own and your loved one's medical information. So that's how the emergency medical folder came along. Having that quick grab information that can go to the hospital, to the doctor's appointments. And let me tell you, this has helped me more than I ever expected, because I can keep all of the information about whatever's going on with myself for current doctor's appointments, information, everything's at my fingertips. And I can hand it to my doctors when necessary to show them important information that I have on my at my fingertips. Now, why is this not just on like a USB drive or in the cloud where I can have it digital? Digital's great as well. It's a great backup. However, in an emergency, it is not likely or easy for first responders to be able to find a USB drive and then have access to a place where they can plug it in and look up the information. That's too many steps. So having something where it's right there, no matter what the technology is around you, the people that need to know the information can have the information right there. That's why it's printed. So keep your digital backup, which is fantastic. It's really good to have, but also make sure that you have the printed copy. So if you go to the hospital, it can be passed from doctor to doctor that sees you. If first responders come, they have it right there in writing, so they can have all that important information, and so that you have something just to take with you to the doctor's appointment, because how many times they give you papers that have to come home with you. And they could go in here till you come home, and then you can enter the information that you need, get rid of the rest of the papers. So that's why this is a physical system, right? So that way we have the information and we don't rely on having access to technology in order to be able to access it. So we talked about why this system works. For one, having the physical system means that we don't have to depend on having the technology available to access our most important information. But we also talked about taking your brain out of the system. The fact that it's all just fill in the blank, you're answering the questions, that takes your brain out. Your brain does not have to think as hard. It is quick grab because it is physical and it is small. It's not the whole Spark Life binder. It does not have a bunch of sensitive information in it. You can grab it and take it where you need it. Plus, this way, everyone knows where to find what's important. So once this is created and you have it in its home where it's going to live, then you can tell your loved ones where it is, right? Knowing where my parents' important information is, even that if I don't need to access it, it is such a relief. It is calming. So that's one level of anxiety I don't have anymore. And it's one place for all of the similar information that you have. So you're not trying to find things in various folders, in your file cabinet, or in various places. It's all in one place. So let me see. I want the next part of the information. So some tips and tools. We're going to go a little bit more into what information to include, what information not to include within your emergency medical folder. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how to put it together really quickly, because it's very, very easy. So how to assemble your emergency medical folder, and just a couple tips and tools to make it a little bit easier. If you are part of the challenge, then the challenge schedule page is your home for the next 3 days. It will actually be available for a week after we end as well. But the challenge schedule page has a printable supplies list for any supplies that you might want to build your basic binder, and some extra supplies that might take it to the next level and make it even more useful. It has my favorite things included, with some of those favorite extra bonus add-ons that can take it to the next level. It also has all the links that you might need. It has the download link. If you've not downloaded it yet, then that is okay. You can download it on the challenge schedule page. So you'll just go to suzannakaye.live, LIVE /challenge-schedule. This link is in every email that I send you throughout the challenge. So don't worry about how to find the link. It's everywhere. But that challenge schedule page will have the video replays. It will have the daily emails, a PDF of the daily email. So that way, if you miss it, it's right there again. It will have links to, like on, Saturday. This Saturday, we will have a public group hike, which is a productivity session. So you can register for that for free. So it'll have that link. It will have other resources available to you that are free. So much good stuff. So go to the challenge schedule page if you've not already. That is your one stop for all challenge information and where you can download not only the worksheets, but also the, the supply list. I wanted to hop into the chat really quickly. I asked you if you already have your emergency medical folder and you've set one up, or if this is your first time. So let's see. Shelly says, oh good, Shelly says she is setting it up with this class. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad. Lori says, I have an emergency medical folder and I need to update it. Yep, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Hopefully this will give you a good motivation to update it real quick. First time for Lisa, yay! Patricia says, I have one at home and one in my car. Brilliant, brilliant. I love that. You can make a duplicate copy and keep it in your car in case there's a car accident or something. That is brilliant. Melanie says, hi from California. She says, yes, I have an emergency medical folder and a note on my refrigerator as to where to find it. It's in a red folder next to my computer in the dining room. Love that. Yes. Day 3, we will talk about where to place it. Melanie already has it down. That's exactly the way. Lisa says, first time. I have practically nothing to put in it yet since we've been blessed with good health, but we're getting older and it's a good time to start. This is the best time to start. That makes it so easy to fill in because there aren't a lot of conditions and things like that. So I love that. Yay. Tony says, Tony from the tri-state area here. She says, I don't have an emergency folder. However, my local health system has all the information in their system. However, I have a family member who could benefit from this. Fantastic. And I will say, yes, most of the time our health systems do have all of the information in their system. However, it is not always easy for them to find the information that they need at the time that they need it. And within the emergency medical folder, this will have a lot of information that they might not have. It has emergency contacts. It has things such as pet information. So that way, if somebody needs to care for your pet, then they know pet information. And a lot of times, if you even ask them for your own information, they will not have it at their fingertips. So your allergies, your vaccinations, things like that, there are so many times that they are not sure. Plus, current medications, having all the supplements and current medications in one place gives them confidence with the first responders and emergency people to be able to treat you quickly without having to re-verify everything. So while it is really good, and most of the time we have MyChart and places like that are the apps where you have a lot of your information in one place, I will say I've heard so many times from the doctor's offices and from people who've used it that having the emergency medical folder set up has been a blessing, because just having MyChart or just depending on your local health system's database is often not quite enough. So fantastic you have that. Please, please still set one up for yourself. And the nice thing is these are great gifts for family members and friends. So you could always set up several of them and give them to your family members, your friends, or give them, there's a link that you can share for them to set up their own. Sarah says, I have a list of medications, but not organized in a folder. My husband has many things wrong with him. This will be nice to keep me organized and for all his appointments and medications. Yes. Oh, I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. Rayshawn, she says, hi from Washington, D.C. Hi, Rayshawn. Glad to have you here. And Rosella says, I have an emergency medical folder. I'm in the process of updating it. It's been a valuable and necessary folder to have for me and my family. Yay. Oh, I'm so glad. Tony says, I never thought about these questions in the document and additional info like DNRs. Yes. It gives you time to answer questions in peace versus duress and stress, so everyone's wishes can be respected. So much. It's amazing how much clearer we can think when we're doing this during a period of calm instead of trying to figure things out during an emergency. Makes it so much better. Great point. Melody says, I have an emergency medical folder. I began completing it, but I'm not finished. Husband has very complex health history and current, new, and chronic health conditions. It can be very overwhelming. Yes, right? Yeah. Being a caregiver makes it so much more important to have something like this so you can have all the information in one place, especially when it's constantly changing information and it can be overwhelming, for sure. Lori says, I changed the Medicare supplement plan in October, so I replaced the copy of the previous card with the new one in my emergency medical folder. I have all insurance cards in a plastic sleeve that my son used for UGO cards. Great use of those old card sleeves. Love that. Well, let's talk about how to put together your emergency medical folder, right? So with your emergency medical folder, like I said, on that challenge schedule page, which is on the screen, you can get the download if you've not already downloaded it. So the download will be a PDF of all of these pages, and you can print them out. Now, you can either type into them and then print them out, or you can print them out and handwrite on them. What I like to do, so that way I don't feel like I have to sit down and finish the whole thing at once and type it all in, is I like to print them out and then handwrite the information, and then later I can go back and type it all in nice and print that out. But I like to handwrite it first, so that way I can focus on making sure to gather the information quickly and not have to worry about going back and forth to the digital file. However, you can, once you type it in, you can still save it and your typing will be saved with it. So you don't have to worry about it disappearing. So you will download the PDF and print it out. On the PDF, it will have all of the different pages for the emergency medical folder and for your family members. So you can print one section per family member. So what I like to do is I put the medical alert page first. That's that medical alert page that has emergency contact information, including, and we'll talk about this tomorrow, but including a contact who can provide date of birth, ID, and sensitive information. So any of the information that we talk about that you might not want to have, like easy for people to access, you can have a contact person who can verify who the person is who calls them before releasing the super sensitive information, especially ID information, stuff like that. So that emergency contact who also has the most important sensitive information would be on the front, and your life-threatening allergies and conditions. So that way the first thing they see when they open the folder is the life-threatening stuff, the most important stuff. Now, if you do have a DNR or something similar, which is the do not resuscitate, any type of end-of-life order, then that can also go in the front. You can put it in the pocket, you could put another page right up front, but that should be very front and very visible. So that way, if first responders do have the folder, then they know if there's a do not resuscitate order in place. We want them to see that first, right? And this is not the only place that you'd put it, but you'd put a copy of it here. And then I like to use one divider per person in the household. We can talk about this a bit more tomorrow as well, but just one divider per person. I like to sometimes put a picture of the person in the beginning of the divider, so that way they can tell if you're not able to communicate, they can see who they're dealing with. But within there, you will have the pages, the individual people's pages with their medications, allergies, emergency instructions, basic info. And then you'll just do that one per person in your household. And then at the back part, there's a pet emergency information. So the pet emergency information would have information about your pet, including its name, colors, markings, common hiding spaces. It has, I believe, 2 pets per page. Let me double check. 4 pets. So it automatically comes with space for 4 pets information, as well as contact information for who will care for the pets if there's an emergency. If you have more than 4 pets, just print another one of these pages. Then it has the home emergency information behind that. So you would list all the non-emergency numbers, home alarm information, landlord, things like that. And then each section of the emergency medical folder and the Spark Life binder end with notes. So if there's ever something where it's very unique to you and there might not be a section about it or a line to fill out about it, that's what the notes section is for. You can add any additional information that's essential to you. You can also just handwrite things in if you need to as well, but the notes section is really helpful. And then Lori talked about this. These are the business card holder pages. So they're these little, you can buy them at the office supply store, but they can hold a business card very easily. Instead of rewriting all the information for each doctor and for your insurance cards and things like that, I like to just have one of these in there and slide the cards right in. And you can make notes on the card as to whose doctor it is or anything like that. But then all the information about that provider is right here. My main provider, I actually grab several cards and keep them in here. So when I'm at a specialist, I can hand them, my primary physician's card and say, can you please send them a copy too? But that's what this is for. So having a business card page is very helpful. And then I like to finish it off with one of these big 3-ring binder type of envelopes. So this way you can keep a pen, some of the various different non-paper things that might be really helpful. Tomorrow we'll talk about some of those different extra add-on things that can take this to the next level that you might want to include in here. But having this pocket is really helpful. It's also helpful at the doctor's office if they give you a bunch of papers, or if you have smaller things like prescription papers that aren't 3-hole punched yet. They can go in there until they are. Now, all of that, I like to make sure to put it in a plastic binder, whether it's a 3-ring binder that's really small or a plastic folder like this one. But this one's actually a very durable plastic. It's not that paper type of 3-prong binders. And by 3-prong, I'm talking about the ones that have these types of enclosures. So it can be a 3-prong or it can be a 3-ring, but make sure that it's super sturdy, because this is something that will be with you for the rest of your life. So you want it to hold up, and this way, if it gets wet because it's raining, if it gets dropped on the floor, if it gets passed around a lot, then it's going to hold up. It's going to be nice and sturdy. So invest in, and they're not expensive, but invest in the nice sturdy plastic folders. Don't cheap out on the folder itself. That printable supplies list will have a listing of the basic supplies that I recommend, as well as some of those extra supplies that you might want to put in the pockets and things like that. So in the comments, let me know if you have any questions so far. So today we were talking about the overview of the emergency medical folder, why you would use it, how it's used, the basics of how to set it up, right? You will also, by the way, that printable PDF, you can save that as a file on your computer. You'll have access to it forever. So you can reprint pages whenever you need to. You can retype things into it and print it out if you want to type it. You will always have access to that. And it's not in my system. It's on your computer. So I don't store any of your personal information anywhere for you. That is completely in your own computer and protected by you. But that's what we talked about today. So tomorrow, for day 2, we will, at 1 p.m. Eastern time, we will have a live session specifically about the emergency medical folder. And for day 2, let's see, we are talking about what information to include in your emergency medical folder and what not to. because this folder is meant to be taken to hospitals and grabbed and taken with you and left somewhere that it can be found by first responders, we want to make sure that we do not include super sensitive information. So we'll talk about what not to include as well as what to include. And I'll give you some ideas about some of the fun things that you can do to add into your folder to kind of take it up a notch and make it a little bit easier. And then day three, I will talk during our group hike productivity session, which is free at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up for that on the challenge schedule page, but I will be talking about how to store it so that you can find it, loved ones can find it, first responders can find it, but how to keep yourself safe. And we'll kind of wrap it all up, and I'll answer any questions. And during the group hike, that productivity session, this is the type of thing that we do, that I only do with my members for the Pathfinders. But we do these group hikes where we sit there and we work side by side on Zoom with each other. And then you have me to ask questions, and I can guide you through things and give you some ideas of different things to do. So check it out. It's a great type of session, especially if you are the type of person who maybe has trouble getting motivated sometimes or getting your energy up to do some things. The group hike sessions are fantastic for it. So you'll have a free one on Saturday. Make sure to sign up for it. But we will talk about storing it and keeping it safe. So in the chat area, let me know, like I said, if you have any questions. This is your chance. We have Lori asked, what's the latest version of the emergency medical folder? Ooh, it is 7, version number 7. I believe 7.1. But remember, anything after the point are like super minor changes. It might have been a formatting change or something tiny. But if you have version 7 or 7 point anything, then you are fine. Lori says, I have a copy of the Durable Power of Attorney for Healthcare and a copy of my Living Will Declaration in a sleeve at the back of the emergency medical folder. Perfect. Yes, yes, all the yeses. Really good. Love that. Joanna says, I started when my husband got leukemia. Then I made one for me. I need to update it. Yes. Oh, it's sending hugs for the reason why, but I'm so glad that you were able to set that up. She says it was very helpful when we were at the hospital. Yeah. Donna says, hi, it's Donna from Pennsylvania. I had one for my mom, but not for me. I printed out the forms now and will complete them for myself and my 3 fur babies. Yes, right? Especially your fur babies. That's one of those things that we worry about when we have pets, is if something happened to me, would people know to go take care of my pets, and would they get the best care? So that way it kind of ensures that people will know that you have pets, and you can tell, this is the contact number for the person who can take care of the pets. So it's a great way to take care of your fur babies. Tony says, question, do you put information like the start of a new medication and any related symptoms in the notes section, or is that for a separate health journal? Great question. So when I have a new medication, I would absolutely put that in the current medications section. And within the current medications, it has details, the dose, the doctor that prescribed it, and any notes. So when you put that new medication in with your medication section, you can put, if you wanted to, you can put any symptoms and related notes in that notes area with that medication if you'd like. I also, a lot of times, I will like to put in the details, I put not only the medication type, sometimes I'll even write the start date and the end date. If it recently ended, I like to still keep that in there for a little bit so they know that that still might be in my system or that's a recent history. So good question. Lovely Marie, she says, good morning, how is everyone doing? She says, I believe I need to update my medical folder. Well, this is a great week for that. Glad that you're here. And CJ says, I have the emergency medical folder and would like to remind everyone to review and update it regularly. Things change so fast. They do, right? They absolutely do. That's why during our group hikes, I remind you guys to update that so often. So good reminder. All right. Well, I am so glad that you're here. I know that was a lot of information for today, but I'm thrilled that you are taking this step and setting up your emergency medical folder. If If you have any questions or get stuck or anything along the way, then please let me know. These live sessions, feel free to ask me questions during the group hike on Saturday. I am all yours. For the 2 hours, you can arrive late, you can leave early, but I'm there for 2 hours and I can answer questions galore and be right there to help you with this. But it's very easy. You probably won't need my help because remember, you're just answering the questions. So don't get overwhelmed with it. This is not a project where you have to sit down and do the whole thing at once. It is okay to every once in a while fill out a little bit more. Step one is just to assemble it. If you print out the forms and you put it in a folder, if that is the only first step that you do for now, that is a great step because your brain now knows where that information can go. And you can every once in a while open it up and fill in just a couple more blanks. And every blank that you fill in is useful. Even if you don't have your emergency medical folder completely filled out, as long as there's even one thing in it, it's useful. All right? So each time you add a little bit more, you just make it a little bit more useful, but no pressure. One small bite at a time, and there aren't actually that many fillable fields, and most of them you know off the top of your head, so you've got this, beautiful. I love you. Pathfinders, I will see you in the Pathfinders Thursday Talks right after this in about 15 minutes. I love you so much, and I will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be live talking about day 2 of the Emergency Medical Folder Challenge. And I will see you then. Mwah! Bye, beautiful. You got this.